Welcome to the Mind Spark, your source for breaking news and trending stories from around the world. Panic at the Panama Canal. The world's attention snapped to Central America as breaking news flashed across every screen. The United States shuts it down after a shocking incident. Global trade halted. The heartbeat of international shipping suddenly skipped. On June 12, 2025, the world watched in disbelief as the MV Colossus, a colossal container ship, became wedged in the narrow Calibra Cut. The vessel, longer than 4 football fields, ground to a halt in the canal's tightest stretch. The canal, a vital artery of global commerce, was suddenly blocked by a steel wall between two oceans. The passage that connects the Atlantic and Pacific was now impassable. Tugboats buzzed around the immobilized giant, helicopters broadcast the chaos, and engineers from the Panama Canal Authority huddled on the banks, knowing billions of dollars were at stake. Every minute, the pressure mounted. Every hour, the Colossus remained stuck, the economic damage mounted. The world's supply chains began to fray. Ships lined up from the Miraflores to the Gatun locks, tankers, cargo vessels, cruise liners, stranded at the gateway between the Atlantic and Pacific. The queue stretched for miles with no end in sight. Captains stared at the blockage, their schedules in ruins, while crews faced an uncertain wait. Tension and frustration grew with each passing hour. Ports from Shanghai to Rotterdam scrambled to reroute shipments, exposing the fragility of global supply chains. Logistics managers worked around the clock, but alternatives were limited and costly. Initial reports were confusing: a power failure, a navigation malfunction, maybe a violent gust of wind. Theories swirled as investigators searched for answers. Whatever the cause, the result was the same: a 200,000-ton plug in one of the world's most critical waterways. The canal was paralyzed. The United States, citing treaty rights and global security, dispatched a specialized naval engineering team. Their mission: to free the canal and restore the flow of commerce. The world's attention was now fixed on this narrow strip of land in Central America. Newsrooms buzzed with updates, and every nation watched anxiously. The ripple effects were immediate and severe. Markets tumbled, and the cost of goods began to rise. The steady flow of goods that powers our modern world had suddenly, and shockingly, stopped. Warehouses and factories braced for shortages. The pressure to find a solution was immense, a weight as heavy as the ship itself. Every expert was called in, every option considered. The canal's closure was not just a shipping accident, it was a global emergency. Leaders convened urgent meetings to assess the growing crisis. The scene at the canal was one of organized chaos. Workers, officials, and emergency crews raced against time. The world was about to get a harsh lesson in the fragility of its supply chains. Everyday life, from groceries to electronics, was about to be disrupted. The MV Colossus had lost control at the worst possible moment. The crisis had begun, and the world could only watch and wait for a solution. Just after dawn, the MV Colossus, a massive vessel loaded with everything from electronics to furniture, quietly made its way through the misty waters of the Panama Canal. The world was waking up, unaware that history was about to be made. Suddenly, the ship lost both propulsion and steering in the narrow, treacherous Calibra Cut, one of the most challenging stretches of the canal. Alarms blared throughout the vessel as the crew scrambled to regain control. The ship drifted helplessly, and with a violent shudder, it became lodged across the channel, blocking all passage. The Panama Canal Authority sprang into action, activating emergency protocols, suspending all traffic, and establishing a 10-mile exclusion zone to keep the area secure. Engineers rushed to the scene to assess the damage. Was the hull breached? Could water be flooding in? Was there a risk of an oil spill that could devastate the fragile ecosystem? Could the canal banks withstand the immense pressure from the stranded ship, or would they give way? The blockage was like a sudden heart attack for the global economy, sending shockwaves through every continent. The Panama Canal handles over 5% of world trade. Now that vital flow was abruptly cut off. Just-in-time delivery systems, the backbone of modern commerce, collapsed overnight. Automakers in the US couldn't get crucial parts from Asia, forcing assembly lines to grind to a halt. Coffee growers in South America watched helplessly as their beans sat in warehouses, unable to reach eager buyers in Europe. The intricate dance of global logistics ground to a halt, leaving ports and warehouses overflowing and trucks idle. The world suddenly realized its deep dependence on this single, narrow point of passage. Alternative routes were costly and slow. Weeks added to journeys, millions more spent on extra fuel and resources. The Suez Canal, already near capacity, offered no easy fix. There was simply no substitute for the Panama Canal. The global supply chain, built for maximum efficiency, had no room for error or unexpected disaster. The MV Colossus exposed the world's greatest vulnerability in the most dramatic way possible, making headlines everywhere. Companies scrambled to adapt, searching for alternatives, but the damage was already done and losses mounted by the hour. The world stood still, holding its breath, waiting for a solution to emerge. The crisis was a wake-up call for global trade, exposing just how fragile the system truly was. The consequences would be felt everywhere, from empty shelves in local stores to turmoil in global markets. The Panama Canal is more than a waterway. It's the backbone of modern international trade. The Panama Canal is more than a waterway. It's the backbone of modern international trade. The Panama Canal is more than a waterway. It's the backbone of modern international trade. For over a century, it's provided a crucial shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific, slashing travel distance and cost. It connects East Asia's factories to U.S. consumers, South American exporters to the world, and European businesses to the Pacific Rim. Everyday prices, from bananas to cars, are shaped by the canal's efficiency. Strategically, it's vital for rapid naval deployment and global security. Control of the canal has long been a geopolitical flashpoint. The 2016 expansion allowed even larger ships like the Colossus to pass, reinforcing its role in world trade. But with greater capacity came greater risk. The canal's smooth operation is essential for global stability. When it stops, the world feels it instantly. The Panama Canal is a triumph of human ambition and engineering. The French failed in the 1880s, defeated by disease and jungle. When the U.S. took over in 1904, Dr. William Gorgas led a campaign against yellow fever and malaria, making construction possible. Engineers carved a path through the isthmus, using locks to lift ships 85 feet over the Continental Divide. The lock and lake system was a stroke of genius, saving massive excavation. The Culebra Cut, a 9-mile trench, was the most difficult part. Workers battled landslides and removed over 100 million cubic yards of earth. The canal opened in 1914, hailed as an engineering wonder. It stands as a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. The canal's design remains a model for infrastructure worldwide. Its legacy is one of overcoming adversity. Today, its importance is greater than ever. The canal's history is as political as it is technical. In 1903, the U.S. supported Panama's independence from Colombia, then secured control of the canal zone. For decades, the zone was a U.S. enclave, fueling resentment among Panamanians who saw it as an affront to their sovereignty. Protests and deadly clashes erupted, most notably in 1964. The push for Panamanian control became a national cause. In 1977, treaties signed by President Carter and Omar Torrijos set the stage for the canal's transfer. On December 31, 1999, Panama took full control, a moment of national pride. The Panama Canal Authority now manages the waterway. Environmental concerns have since come to the fore. Deforestation, drought, and water use threaten the canal's future. The 2016 expansion raised new questions about ecological impact. Today, managing the canal means balancing economic benefits with environmental responsibility. The canal's story is one of shifting power and ongoing challenges. Its future depends on wise stewardship. The world is watching. The grounding of the Colossus sent shockwaves through the global economy. Oil prices surged as tankers waited, fueling inflation worldwide. Just-in-time supply chains collapsed, factories slowed, retailers faced empty shelves, and shipping costs soared. The incident exposed the hidden costs of hyper-efficient logistics, a lack of resilience. Diplomatic tensions rose as countries demanded swift action. China offered technical help. The U.S. sent a naval team, reviving old suspicions. The crisis tested international cooperation. Small businesses and farmers suffered as perishable goods spoiled and costs mounted. The blockage was not just a corporate problem, it hurt ordinary people everywhere. The fragility of global trade was laid bare. Freeing the Colossus became a global effort, uniting nations in a common cause. The Panama Canal Authority led the charge, joined by Dutch salvage masters, U.S. Navy engineers, and Japanese ship designers, each bringing unique expertise to the table. Dredgers worked around the clock, their powerful machines clearing away tons of mud and rock from both the ship's bow and stern, even as darkness fell. Teams raced to lighten the vessel, pumping off fuel and ballast, while floating cranes carefully removed containers one by one to reduce the ship's massive weight. Powerful tugboats, coordinated like a symphony, lined up and prepared for the final crucial pull that could make all the difference. Timing was everything. They waited for the highest tide, knowing that even a few extra inches of water could be the key to success. After days of relentless work and sleepless nights, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. Tugboats strained at full power, cables taut, while dredgers had cleared enough space and the ship had been lightened by thousands of tons of cargo. Inch by inch, the Colossus began to move, its massive hull finally responding to the combined efforts of the teams. Cheers erupted as the ship was freed at last and towed to Gatun Lake for inspection. The canal was clear once more, and hope was restored. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief, watching as global trade resumed and crisis was averted. The immediate crisis was over, but the lessons learned from this ordeal were just beginning to be understood. The operation set a new standard for international salvage, showcasing what's possible when the world comes together. The unprecedented teamwork and collaboration on display inspired all who witnessed it, setting a powerful example for the future. The world had averted disaster, this time, but the memory of the crisis lingered. The question now loomed larger than ever: how to prevent the next one and ensure the canal's safety for generations to come. The race against time had been won, but the challenge of safeguarding the future had only just begun. The Colossus incident forced the maritime industry to innovate. Advanced navigation and AI-powered piloting systems became a top priority. Emergency protocols for major canals were overhauled, with rapid response teams and pre-positioned equipment. The world's major canals now collaborate on international salvage standards. The size of megaships came under scrutiny. Efficiency versus resilience became the new debate. Some experts advocated for more, smaller ships to reduce risk. The crisis also accelerated the push for greener shipping: alternative fuels, efficient hulls, and reduced emissions. The industry shifted from pure efficiency to a balance with resilience and sustainability. The Colossus became a catalyst for positive change. The lessons learned are shaping the future of global trade. The world is better prepared for the next crisis. Looking back, the Panama Canal crisis was a test we passed, thanks to global cooperation and innovation. The freeing of the Colossus was an engineering triumph and a victory for unity. Supply chains are now smarter and more resilient. Emergency protocols and technology upgrades protect global trade. The push for sustainability is transforming shipping. The crisis forced us to value resilience as much as efficiency. The Panama Canal stands as a symbol of hope and adaptation. The world is more connected and better prepared than ever before. The future of global commerce looks brighter thanks to the lessons learned. But even as the Panama Canal reopened, the world felt the aftershocks. Containers piled up at ports, some store shelves remained empty, and prices for everyday goods fluctuated. Shipping companies scrambled to reroute vessels, while manufacturers adjusted production lines to cope with delays. For many, the crisis was a wake-up call. Businesses learned the value of diversifying supply chains, countries reconsidered their trade dependencies. Consumers too became more aware of the complex journey products take before reaching their homes. Yet, amid the disruption, there were stories of resilience. Communities rallied to support one another. Small businesses found creative solutions. The shipping industry accelerated its adoption of digital tracking and alternative routes. The immediate aftermath was challenging, but it also strengthened the resolve of nations, industries, and individuals. The canal's shutdown was more than a logistical event. It was a catalyst for change, sparking a new era of adaptability and collaboration in global trade. The disruption at the Panama Canal resonated far beyond trade and supply chains. It reverberated through the halls of governments worldwide. In emergency meetings, diplomats and leaders debated the vulnerabilities exposed by the crisis. International organizations convened urgent summits seeking both immediate solutions and long-term strategies to safeguard global commerce. Nations dependent on the canal for exports and imports found common ground, forging new alliances and strengthening old ones. Some called for greater investment in alternative trade routes and infrastructure, while others pressed for reforms in global maritime regulations. Pause 2S. The crisis also became a flashpoint for geopolitical maneuvering. Major powers offered aid and expertise to Panama, each hoping to secure influence over this vital corridor. Meanwhile, smaller nations advocated for more equitable participation in global trade decisions, insisting that the lessons of the canal's shutdown not be forgotten. In the end, the international response was a testament to the interconnectedness of our world. The canal's closure was a stark reminder that political cooperation is as essential as engineering prowess in keeping the arteries of global commerce flowing. The incident sparked not only innovation and adaptation, but also a renewed commitment to dialogue, diplomacy, and collective resilience on the world stage. Beyond the headlines and boardrooms, the Panama Canal shutdown was felt most deeply in the lives of ordinary people. For canal workers, the crisis brought days of uncertainty. Maria, a third-generation lock operator, watched as her daily routine unraveled, her pride in keeping world trade moving now shadowed by worry for her family's future. In the bustling ports, shipping company managers like David faced mounting pressure. Each day the canal remained closed meant millions lost, and anxious clients demanding answers. He spent sleepless nights coordinating reroutes, searching for any solution to keep goods moving and crews safe. Local communities too felt the ripple effects. Small business owners in Panama City saw fewer customers as the flow of international visitors slowed to a trickle. Fishermen and vendors, once assured of steady income from canal traffic, now faced tough choices and leaner days. Yet, amidst the hardship, stories of resilience emerged. Workers volunteered to repair infrastructure, shipping crews supported each other far from home, neighbors shared what little they had, forging stronger bonds in adversity. The canal's shutdown was not just a global crisis, it was a personal one, echoing in the lives of thousands. Their perseverance and hope became the quiet foundation on which recovery would be built, reminding us that behind every headline are real people facing extraordinary challenges with extraordinary courage. As the dust settles on the Panama Canal crisis, the world turns its gaze toward the future. What lessons have been learned, and how can global trade adapt to a landscape forever changed? Experts warn that the canal's vulnerability is a wake-up call. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a maritime economist, predicts that climate change and shifting trade patterns will demand bold solutions. We need to rethink not just the canal itself but the entire global supply chain, she explains. Diversification is key. Investing in alternative routes from the Arctic Passage to overland railways will make world trade more resilient. Engineers propose ambitious upgrades, expanding the canal's capacity, adopting greener technologies and improving water management to withstand future droughts. Meanwhile, shipping companies explore digital innovations, AI-driven logistics, real-time tracking and dynamic rerouting to stay agile amid uncertainty. Some envision an era of greater international cooperation. Multinational task forces, new treaties, and shared investments could help safeguard the canal and the economies it serves. The Panama Canal has always been a symbol of what humanity can achieve together, says Dr. Rodriguez. Its future will depend on our willingness to collaborate, innovate, and adapt. The crisis may have disrupted the flow of commerce, but it has also sparked a wave of ingenuity. As the world navigates uncharted waters, one thing is clear: the story of the Panama Canal and global trade is far from over.